Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we are going to repot this little tree here of Ficus microcarpa into its first bonsai pot. It is still in the plastic pot and the cover pot that I bought it in roughly half a year ago. I let it in this pot and also in the soil that it came in simply to have it get used to its new environment. And it has definitely stabilized. There's not really any dieback happening, a lot of new growth happening. We have wired this tree before, and I think now is a good time to also repot it. It's the middle of growth season, it's a tropical tree, so definitely not a problem there. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's start right away by taking it out of its small plastic cover pot. So I'm just going around trying to loosen the soil here a little bit. I can already see the top layer breaking off. Normally these trees are planted in quite deeply, and we can see the same thing here with not a lot of root mass, as you can see, basically none, and a lot of soil. And that soil we're going to remove now. I'm just using this little cover pot that we had the tree in anyway to catch most of the soil. I'm using simply to begin with a little rake to get off the main parts of soil, and you see how this simply comes off so easily because there is no roots in here. They just like potted it really deeply. So let me remove most of this, and then when we get to any finer roots we might then move to something a little less harsh on the roots. So we might use some chopsticks then to loosen it. But first let's remove all these big chunks. I always find it amazing how deep they pot this into soil. Quite unnecessarily so. So from this side we can still break off quite a lot. Bring up the few roots we have here, because I don't see many, to be honest. Which on the one hand, of course, it's not good, because a lot of roots normally means also a healthy tree, because it can, of course, use these roots to collect all the nutrients it needs from the water and the fertilizer, if we give it fertilizer. And this way, of course, it might take a little bit longer for this tree to settle into its new pot, and also for really starting to show a lot of growth. And you can see how long this tree actually is and how tall this tree is. So let's remove a bit more here still. Quite thoroughly here, of course. We don't want to keep too much soil on this tree because we're going to repot in inorganic soil. Little particles, of course, will simply wash out with watering it, but of course, the freer those roots are, the better they can also take them in the new inorganic soil. So that's the goal here. So I'm still roughly removing any soil I can see, and I might even give it a little bit of a rinse, but that we'll see. Yeah, once again, a Ficus Ginseng store-bought with not really a lot of roots on it. That's unfortunately often the case with those ones you buy in box stores or in garden centers. They're all commercially grown the same way and never really sport a nice rooting system, unfortunately. But doesn't mean you cannot make anything out of them and have them grow a nice root system while you take care of them. So I think that is about it. We also have some higher roots up here. We might even use them a little bit, almost something like aerial roots, because we definitely won't be able to pot it in that deeply. A bonsai pot that I'm eyeing right now isn't that deep. Let's move the soil away and let's continue setting up this tree. So we have it here right now. I'm gonna put it away for a second, and for that I'm going to put it in a wet paper towel, wrapping those roots in there so they don't dry out until we are ready to work with the tree. So let me put this simply away. So then we move on to the pot. I would use this little ceramics pot right here. Let's move a little bit the debris out of the way. It's a bit bigger, and I think that is actually needed for the height of this tree. I have prepared this already. It has one drainage hole, so I put some mesh over it, and I also secured some wire in this pot so we can then tie in our tree. And that's what we're going to do today. So let's get again our tree and remove the little paper towel that we put on to secure and keep the roots moist. And let's see how it would in general look in here. I think I like this look. And the roots would fit in here, and that means the first thing we're going to do is put in a ground layer of soil in here. So let me get some soil and simply put a small ground layer in here. And then we get our tree. And we see, first of all, which should be the front, which should be the back. I think I prefer this part here. But anyway, in this pot, we can still change a front or a back. Another tying in will be interesting because there's not much to tie it to. So let me see where we can actually tie it to. Here we have a little hook that we might use. And back here also, it's actually, with this hook, it would be probably easiest to hook it somewhat here. And then use the one in the back here. But let's see one more time with this one here, if we move it. Yes, over here. That should hold in. Yes, that did the trick. So let's make sure this really is tight here. So it also holds for longer. Now we have a grip on both sides. Good, I like the oval look. And now let's of course fill in the rest of the soil here. Here's a root stool that jumped out of the pot, so we need to of course make sure that everything is covered in soil. We put a first layer here. And then we just continue going around here. So also here a bit in the back, filling it in. Then let's turn around the tree. That also proves now that it is holding. It is a bit uneven in here, however, but I think I liked it from the other front. And I like it leaning here a little bit as well, to be honest. I think looking straight would be a bit weird, and it leans a bit to this direction here where the pot is also heightened a little bit. I think I like this actually. Let's pot it in and see, and otherwise we can still move it. So some more soil here. And definitely here as well still. So what we then should still do is use a little wooden chopstick and really work in this soil, because of course, even though there's not that much root mass, there will still be little nooks and crannies in here that need to be filled in with the soil. And you will see, when you can see the soil somehow still disappearing underneath the tree, that means there was simply still room to fill in there. And that's definitely the case here as well. And of course, the better we fill this, also the more secure the tree will get in here. And that also means we need more soil. But now just a little bit to fill what we just moved underneath still. Also here in the back, definitely. Move it quite nicely along the tree. And And that already looks quite nicely. Let me clean up here a little bit and let's take a closer look at the final result of this tree. And here it is, the final result of the tree in its new pot. Let's take a look around. I do still tend to see this more as the front of the tree. I do like the way the trunk looks here. It is a bit cleaner, I would say. And I like the way it leans also here to this slightly heightened part of the pot. So definitely I find a good look for this tree. You can still see here the slightly darker part of the root here that was all covered by soil. This should clear out after a while. Of course, right now it's still a little bit moist, but then we should have the same color as up here and it will look quite nicely together again. But I find this pot definitely fitting for this tree. It is secure in here. I do like the leaning, to be honest. It gives it a little bit more character. We might have to, in the future, then adjust, of course, also the growth up here and the wiring a little bit to definitely fit better into this design for this tree. But at the moment, I'm happy with the repot. I think this tree will take in here in this pot quite well. Probably will keep it in here now for, I would say, at least 2-3 years. You saw how little root mass there actually was on this tree. So I don't see any immediate need in 1 or 2 years to check those roots. Probably, yeah, 2-3 years. Probably rather 3 years until we really start to take a look at this tree again when it comes to repotting. Until then, we simply keep it in this pot. We're gonna water it, of course, whenever the soil starts to dry out on the top layer. We're going to fertilize, especially now still in growth season. I won't fertilize now for 2-3 weeks simply because the tree might go in a little bit of a shock after being repotted. So I'm just going to make sure it is watered. I'm also making sure I'm not watering it too much. And fertilizing I will start then again probably in 3-4 weeks when I can see signs that it has settled into its new pot. I mean, there was not that much root mass to settle in, but still it is good to give it some rest after a repot. It's always something, of course, that is quite harsh on the system of a tree. So why not give it the time it needs to recuperate after that? I will keep you updated on this tree. Probably the next thing I will tackle is, as I said, the foliage. Again, working a little bit on it. I can see a lot of growth has happened now already since we wired this the last time. So definitely something we will keep an eye on as well. And when the time comes for that, of course, I will show this in another video. Until then, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did so, feel free to leave a like. If you have any questions about this tree or any tips, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you enjoy my channel, feel free to subscribe to it and hopefully I will see you in the next video. Until then, take care.